Hello and welcome to another webinar in our series. I am Jacinta Ferreira, owner and founder of Island Getaways and the resident travel expert here. I'm joined again today by Brian Rademacher, and you may be very familiar with our partnership. This is number 9 in our series of webinars, and if you've missed the previous ones or want to rewatch them, just contact me and I'll be happy to send you a link. But I'm going to hand it over to him to begin our preview of an absolutely amazing journey that I recently returned from. So we'll have lots of information for you. We've both experienced this unique ship and this itinerary, so got a wealth of information to share with you today. So welcome, Brian. Take it away.
Thank you, Jacinta. Yeah, I'm Brian Rademacher, and I'm the peddler for AMA Waterways, the sales guy for Northern California. So I didn't know it was number 9. Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jacinta. That is terrific in our virtual realm we're dealing with here, but happy to be here again. And yes, happy to talk about a very unique situation in terms of a river cruise on a ship that's quite magnificent. And you'll hear more about that from Jacinta, who just returned. She's actually more having just returned. I'm not going until November. So her experience is more fresh, certainly, and I'll have my own experience when I go this November, but looking forward to talking to you now. And speaking of Jacinta on the ship, whoa, where is that, Jacinta?
This is in Spitz, Germany, on the Danube River, and I'm on that expansive sun deck, which was just a great place to stand or sit and watch the world go by as we slowly floated directly through the landscape, actually.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's certainly part of the allure of river cruising is floating through the landscape. And the landscape is always there, which is one of the differences with ocean cruises, is you're always literally a stone's throw away from the shore. Well, thank you for that picture, Jacinta. That definitely sets us and gets us in the mood. So today we're going to talk about, yes, redefining the river cruise experience on this ship called the Magna. Now, Magna in Latin means great, right? And this ship, and I'm biased because my paycheck says Waterways every 2 weeks, but the ship is quite unique indeed. And we always show this image, just it's evocative. That is the Rhine River, by the way. And, you know, oceans obviously take you to countries, but rivers take you through them, right? And so these experiences are fantastic from the standpoint of traversing through a country. And actually, the cities and towns and villages that you visit, they actually grew right up from the river, right? So you're always in the heart of where it is you want to be. Hopefully you found that to be true. Didn't you, Jacinta?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Good. This is the Magna, and when it says here sailing exclusively on the Danube River, there is a reason for that, and we're going to get into that here momentarily. This is Bratislava, pictured in Slovakia, but again, we'll talk more about it. This is the reason the Magna is only on the Danube, and here it is. This is one of our competitors with whom we removed logos and things of that nature. And this is the traditional size of a river ship, which is 36 feet wide. And the reason is the locks are the same, 36 feet wide. So you're limited then in the width anyway as to how big the ship or how wide the ship can be. But there are a set of locks on the Danube River, both the upper and lower, that are what? They're twice the width. They're 72 feet, right? And so our owner, very prescient, decided to build a ship to fit those locks. And so the Magna is twice the width as this ship, so it's 72 feet wide, right? The nice thing is, though, this ship carries 190 guests. This ship only carries about 192 guests, right? So even though it's 50% wider, we only carry that many guests, right? So the bottom line is very spacious and very roomy. Wouldn't you say, Jacinta?
Oh, absolutely. And this is an innovative ship in several ways, but this is one of the major ones, that it is a double wide, similar in length to, other river ships, but you can see it so well here in the side-by-side comparison. Double wide, so it's quite spacious. And you can see that sun deck right on top where I was standing in the previous photo.
Yeah.
with a walking track and a swimming pool, actually a lap pool. It even has jets that you can turn on so you can swim against the current and get quite the workout. So the extra added width means that there are additional features on this unique ship.
For sure. And this ship, you might wonder, when did it come out? Well, she debuted in May of 2019, right? And then she cruised through into past New Year's into early 2020, right? And then she was parked during the winter of January, February, and into early March of 2020. But what happened in early March of 2020? She got parked again. So she's kind of like a brand new ship in the sense that she didn't cruise in the entire year, of 2020, and then she did cruise a bit of last year. So for all intent and purposes, she's got low mileage on her due to the situation that's occurred, the last few years, but truly a remarkable ship. Today, what we're going to be focusing on is this particular itinerary called Magna on the Danube, which is a 7-night cruise. A lot of our cruises are 7 nights. Certainly, you can do longer than that, but today we're talking about 7 nights. And this particular program also offers a pre-cruise in Prague here in the Czech Republic, and then a post-cruise at the end of the cruise here in Budapest in Hungary. And along the way, you visit Germany, Austria, and Slovakia. And this particular itinerary is specific to the AMA Magna because it does go to places, as Jacinta mentioned, like this little village of Spitz, which is an unusual name to say the least, but the AMA Magna calling there, and our other ships on that itinerary don't go there, right? So there's some unique things that are offered from her on this particular itinerary. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. So this is a cruise that starts again here, finishes, you're heading from west to east, right? And by the way, this section in here, we'll talk about the Wachau Valley. Rick Steves, Mr. Europe, he calls that the fellow that knows a thing or two about Europe, Rick Steves, the quintessential river cruise experience in Europe. So that's another reason we wanted to kind of focus in on this particular itinerary. So great itinerary, great ship. But even though, go ahead.
Hold on just a second, because I want to say that several of the reasons why I chose this particular itinerary for myself was, number one, the ship, which I had watched being developed and saw it when it was launched, and it was on my personal wish list. But there is the opportunity to visit 5 countries in a seamless 2 weeks if you do a pre-cruise segment in Prague, which I did, and a post-cruise segment, land segment in Budapest, which I also did. So it's a nice combination with the 7-night river cruise, bookended with land stays for extra time in those beautiful cities. I really enjoyed Prague and Budapest, both of them equally, and wouldn't have missed either one. But there are locations along the way that we'll be looking at in more detail that are just phenomenal. And as Brian said, unique to this ship itinerary.
Correct. And sometimes this itinerary is sort of euphemistically referred to as sort of the great capitals, because the capital of Czech Republic, Prague, capital certainly here of Austria, Vienna, capital of Slovakia, Bratislava, capital of Hungary, Budapest. So you're visiting also 4 capital countries. So sometimes that is something that people find interesting as well, along with the smaller villages that you're going to be seeing. But having talked about the beauty of the ship, now the beauty of the ship is one thing, but really for us, I guess I'd say our secret sauce, it's the crew, the software. That is what brings the ship to life. You can have all the wonderful accoutrements and guest amenities and all that kinds of stuff, but you know what? It really comes down to the people who work on board, and we're happy that we have such cool people that work for us, and you'll experience that when you come with us. So we'll mention them, give them a shout out. And yes, cruise managers are part and parcel of this experience there. I sort of refer to them, maybe this isn't a great term, but I say they're kind of the circus masters, because they run the 3-ring show, basically. They're very, very good at what they do. And go ahead, Jacinta.
Well, it's wonderful to have a cruise manager that is there through the entire itinerary, from the beginning of the pre-cruise land segment through the post-land segment, if you choose to do that. So you get very familiar with them, and I will tell you, because I've done ALMA cruises before, and I've done this one. I will be back and do them again. But the cruise managers are your concierge, and they have such a wealth of information, excellent recommendations. You know, we really enjoyed having that personal touch, and also, you know, a lot of guidance with where to go, what to do with our free time in cities. So just a very valuable asset.
They are indeed, and you're right. They're from this area, so this is their backyard, as it were, and so they're very, number one, they're happy to be there, which is good. Happy crew, happy guests, and then they're, just as Cynthia says, just an incredible wealth of knowledge. Absolutely. So, and we're very selective in who becomes cruise managers. The number of applicants versus the number that get hired. I sometimes say it's easier to get into Stanford University, I think, than to become a cruise manager with ALMA. It is an arduous procedure. So these people are really good at what they do. So we'll kind of take a look quickly at some of the accommodations. Now, the owner suite on this particular ship, the ALMA Magna, it's the biggest owner suite we have at 710 square feet. That's large as far as a river ship goes, because of course, again, this is a larger ship to begin with. And so we'll just, again, show you some of the pictures here, worth 1,000 words. One owner suite, go ahead. Yes.
You know, it's the size of some city apartments.
Right.
Big city apartments. I think in New York, they have some that are maybe that size.
I think
so
it's right.
it's quite large. It may exceed your needs, but it's available if that's what you'd like to do. If it's a special occasion and you want to splurge, this might be the way to go.
Absolutely. And that beautiful bathtub there, double vanity sink.
Big enough to have a bathtub, double vanity, yes.
Very nice. I believe there are either 4 or 6 of these grand suites that are just under 500 square feet. And of course, you notice the balconies. North Americans, you know, we build our newer vessels over the last several years that have balconies. And because traditionally, particularly if you've been on an ocean cruise, there is a likelihood that you've had a balcony. And frankly, when you've had that balcony experience, say on an ocean going vessel, it is a nice experience. There's no doubt about it. And so when you transition to the rivers, we want to offer you that same opportunity to be able to enjoy having the balcony experience. So that is definitely possible on our vessels, no question.
And again, quite spacious at just under 500 square feet.
And the most common accommodation, common in the sense that there are more of these than anything else on the vessel, are category SA and SV. And these are 355 square feet, again, with the full balcony. Now, just to give you a juxtaposition, on our smaller vessels, the suites are in this range, the biggest suite, I should say, on the vessels that are, again, smaller than ALMA Magna. Whereas in this case, again, these predominate as far as the most number of type of accommodations available at 355 square feet with, again, that full balcony, right? A sitting area. There is large screen TV, etc. So again, all the accoutrements, safe, refrigerator, just everything you could imagine is available.
All the creature comforts.
Yes, creature comforts. I like that. Here's the bathroom, again, double vanity sink. The rain shower head. Well, you can't see it. There's a handheld, and then there's above here, you can't see, but it's like that rain shower head. That's always kind of nice to have that experience as well. Now, taking us out on the aft end of the ship, we call this spinning with a view. And frankly, this was taken fairly early on when there were 4 or 5 of the spinning cycles, and this has become such a popular thing for our guests to do. I think we've added more. I don't know how many were on your cruise, but I've heard we've added up to sometimes up to 9 spinning cycles that go all the way across from one side of the ship to the other, and they're looking aft as they do their spinning with a view aft end of the vessel. And you see this gentleman here with the name badge. He is a fitness instructor, and we're going to talk about the fact that we have full-time wellness instructors on board. So he's partaking himself here. Anything to add, Jacinta?
Yes, well, on our voyage, the fitness classes, not just the spinning, but other stretch, yoga, Pilates, were very, very popular. And the guided biking tours were full.
And to that point, there they are.
There you go.
Yeah. Good timing. Thank you, Jacinta. That was perfect. Synchronicity there. So yes, we actually do have, as you can see, bikes on our vessels. And so these are utilized, obviously, to go out on biking trips, tours, etc. Some are organized and led by guides, where you'll have a guide at the front, a guide at the rear, for the faster and slower riders. Sometimes the fitness instructor will go along, so you actually have three that are partaking along with you. Or you can, if you're so inclined, and I like to do both, but you can also just take the bikes out on your own, right? And so that's kind of nice. You can see the large circumference tires. They're very easy to ride, 8 or 9 gears, shifting gears. Yes, you do wear a helmet, you sign the release, all that jazz, all the things you would imagine you. They do want to kind of look you over, and when they ask you when's the last time you've been on a bike, don't say the 3rd grade. I mean, that's not, because people have this notion of, I would like to ride a bike along the Danube. And then it's like, when's the last time you were on a bike again? Well, back in grade school. So, you want to have some biking experience between then and now. But these are,
yes,
said,
you definitely want to make sure that it's safe and it's enjoyable, and doable.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Back into the Zen Wellness Studio. And again, because the ship being larger, this studio is pretty spacious indeed.
Yes.
So take advantage of that. And then the wellness bar for healthy libations and whatnot. So that's kind of nice as well. And then, yes, if you want some salon services, whether it's related to hair or manicure or pedicure, these are available as well. And of course, these are, just to be totally transparent, these are not included in the cost of your cruise. Just to be upfront about that, these would be an additional out-of-pocket.
They are optional, but I can tell you the rates were very, very reasonable.
Cool. I have not done this kind of thing. I've not had my hair shampooed or my manicured or pedicure on the ship. So I'm glad you can speak to that experience.
Yeah. Also massage services. Yes. So yeah, well, there you go. And the rates were very, very reasonable.
That is nice. I agree. Very nice to splurge and have a little massage. There is a small cinema on board as well. So that's, again, different than any of our other vessels. So harkening back to the name Magna, the great Magna. These pictures look photoshopped to me. They're so vibrant and beautiful, but we have a couple of lower lounge areas.
Libraries.
Libraries, you see the little fireplace here. There's magazines and books and games, and just a nice place to kind of sit and chill and relax, read your own book, whatever, do some
I actually sat there and wrote postcards one afternoon and had them mailed from the ship. And there are the 2 libraries. This is on one side, one's on the port side, one's on the starboard side. There you go. Very comfortable, very quiet space, large windows again, so you can enjoy the view while you're sitting there, but gorgeous. I mean, what you see is what you get. I can attest to the fact that the photos are absolutely 100% accurate.
That's good there. Thank you for that. You see the boutique for a little bit of shopping. These, when I look over here, these are sort of endemic to probably to Austria, right? And some of the threads there for the lady, right, that can fit into the place you're cruising. And Cynthia mentioned the pool and the whirlpool, which again are plenty spacious and fun to take advantage of. We do. If you happen to go, maybe a Christmas markets cruise or something like that, maybe in the fall, maybe when it's a little cooler or cold, what have you, these pools are heated, so they're open well into the evening hours as well. So it's not just during the day. So always bring your trunks with you at any season of the year, because the pools are nicely.
That jacuzzi is hot.
Jacuzzi is hot. All right.
It is hot.
When it gets too hot in the jacuzzi, then you're going to wander up to these gentlemen. Because they're going to have a beverage for you. So there's a pop-up sky bar up there on sun deck. So that's kind of nice indeed. And then if you're so inclined, and actually one of my sons is teaching me to play chess right now, as a matter of fact. So I'll be able to take advantage of this the next time I go, which is the giant chess and game, and as well as the putting green. And there's one of those those life rings that Jacinta was standing next to in the picture that we started with. Now, the one thing cool, many things cool, but certainly everybody, when you go on vacation and the dining aspect and dining as it relates to the places that you're visiting, that's such an integral part of your vacation experience. And it certainly is at AMA Waterways as well. So on this ship, we're fortunate to have 4 separate unique dining venues. Did you get a chance to experience all of these, Jacinta?
I did. I made a point of enjoying all 4 and even got to have afternoon tea in the al fresco restaurant one day after a tour. I came back and just wanted to take a little break and had a full afternoon tea with little finger sandwiches and fruit tarts and little cake squares. It was quite nice.
That is nice. And this chef's table, I'll just mention this as a side note. This is a tasting menu, right? So smaller dishes paired with the local wines. That's quite nice. So 4, again, unique dining venues. And yes, this talks a little bit more about that chef's table experience, which is really kind of nice. We also have the chef's table on our smaller vessels, but we certainly have it as well. It's a signature area for us on our ships and really kind of nice, and you definitely get to experience it. Some people like to go more than once, which is fine if the availability is there. This is the upper lounge bar area with a dance floor. Did you cut a rug any of the evenings, Jacinta?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, all right. Good deal, good deal. So, and we actually do have onboard entertainment in terms of ship's musicians. So there is music to dance to, certainly local entertainment that comes on board. Speaking of the beverage situation, this is how that works. We have a welcome aboard cocktail party. Then each evening, there's the sip and sail cocktail party. That's pretty well received, right, Giuseppe?
Very popular, and at times the cruise manager has his port talk during the happy hour, which coordinates really nicely. So we get information about what's coming up while we're having our cocktails or mocktails or whatever it is that we choose to do. But very nice right before dinner.
Right.
Lovely to have it included.
Yes, and so we have mimosas in the morning, wine and beer at lunch, and then again, certainly fine wines served in varietals, different varietals each evening of wine from the local area. And yes, the cruise manager, their talks that they give, those are well worth attending, because you may have a certain agenda in mind before you came to the cruise, and then you go listen to the cruise manager, you think, aha, that sounds more up our alley. We think we'll switch to that excursion and do that particular one. So those are always worth listening to and attending.
Yeah. So, I also want to just mention that bottled water is provided in the staterooms every single day. It's also provided before you leave on a tour or excursion. There are no additional charges for the bottled water. So beverages are included, which is not a given on all cruise lines. Not a given on ocean cruise lines. Currently, they do have some promotions where they're adding, beverage packages as amenities, but this has always been included with AMA. So it's generous and completely sufficient. There's no need to buy anything additional. If you want an after dinner drink, it's certainly available for you to purchase. But I found it completely sufficient and more than we needed, even. Slightly.
Thank you for that. Yeah, there's a saying in the cruise business, and it's not how much it costs to get on the vessel, it's how much it costs to get off the vessel. So there's a part of the appeal of river cruising, yes, and particularly with AMA, is that you're paying for the lion's share of your experience up front, and so you're not being nickel and dimed on board, right? So that makes the experience, frankly, appealing for a lot of folks, that the inclusive nature of river cruising.
Yeah, you can relax. You can totally relax because almost all things are included and taken care of. So you don't have to worry about those. There's maybe a few incidentals, but very small.
Correct. So on this itinerary that we're talking about today, that is AMA Waterways, offers, and we do this on all of our itineraries throughout Europe and frankly everywhere we go in the world, but the opportunity to go in early and or stay after the cruise. So in this instance, beautiful Prague in the Czech Republic, right? This is where the pre-cruise extension is offered. And like Jacinta, I and my wife went to Prague for several days. And I have to say, it's one of my favorite cities in the world, let alone Europe. Hopefully you found Prague appealing, Jacinta.
Yes, really enjoyed it very, very much.
Yeah, and part of Prague's allure, at least in my way of thinking, is that, let's face it, during World War II, much of Europe was damaged just because of World War II. That comes along with what happened. But Prague was not a military target during the war. And so even though it was occupied during the war, the true story is that when the Russians were coming from the east in 1945 and the Germans were in the midst of losing the war, the Czech resistance made an agreement, frankly, with the Germans that on their exiting of Prague, they would not, as they would normally do, blow up a lot of stuff as a parting gift. So the Czech resistance said, we won't impede your exit so you can not get captured by the Russians, which would have meant certain death. And so that agreement was made, and the Germans nearly honored it, but they blew up one building. But that's pretty good as far as their statistics go. So what this all points to is Prague is a true time capsule in terms of its beautiful architecture throughout the city and the various areas of the city. They exist as they did World War II, and that is something, really quite something. On your way, when you do transfer, certainly from Prague down to the ship that you're going to embark on the ship, you're not embarking here in Regensburg, but you do get to visit Regensburg, which is an incredibly beautiful medieval city. You get to go into the town square, wander around. I bought a chapeau, a hat there the last time I was visiting in Regensburg. Absolutely lovely. If you happen to go at Christmas market times, this is one of the most beautiful Christmas markets when you do transfer from Prague down through Regensburg to visit that particular Christmas market. Did you have a chance to visit Regensburg, Jacinta?
Oh, yes, we did.
Nice.
During the transfer from Prague to the ship, which is in Wilshofen.
That's right.
We did get to visit and take a guided tour, which was very informative, and had the opportunity to have lunch there. My travel companion and I decided to go into a German beer garden. It happened to be during the weekend, so it was quite crowded with local people as well. And there was a German band that was playing, and it was quite atmospheric. We loved it. Good, hearty German food, and a lot of people out there just enjoying the day and the music. So absolutely did really enjoy this stop on the way.
Nice, thank you. Well, now what Jacinta mentioned in terms of Wilshofen, so Wilshofen is the little town that we embark the ship in, on this itinerary, or disembark if you're coming from the east to the west. This town essentially has adopted us and we have adopted them. And what do I mean by that? Well, when we christen our new vessels in Europe, oftentimes it's right here in Wilshofen. And they, as I say, what's kind of nice, you've all heard of Oktoberfest, which actually happens in the month of September as well. But anytime, and this is kind of letting a little secret out, anytime you're embarking or disembarking in Wilshofen, guess what? The town is going to throw you an Oktoberfest celebration, right? With the music and the beer and the quintessential German experience. So it's kind of fun that we have this relationship with Wilshofen in beginning or ending your cruise. And often the mayor shows up as well, which is kind of fun. All right. Then the next place you visit, yes, this is Pasau, also obviously on the Danube, I should say. And this is a confluence of three different rivers, the Danube, the Ilz, and I forgot the name of the third river. Let's see if I can remember. Pasau,
Ilz,
and Danube. Yes, thank you so much. I had a
city of three rivers.
The city of three rivers.
You can see it.
So Pittsburgh's not the only three-river city. It's Pasau as well in Germany. Beautiful little village. And this is, again, what we were talking about earlier. Yes, you're in larger cities like Prague, or Budapest at the end, certainly, but you also have these experiences in these smaller villages and towns that are quite lovely, and that you're able to meander about, go on tours, do your own thing, ride bikes, really, really nice. Now, when you're in Linz, Austria, which is on the river, a stop on the river, when you're in Linz, you can spend a day in Linz. That's perfectly fine and plenty to do there. However, you have opportunities to head south from Linz. And when you head south, you come here to Salzburg, Austria. All right. Beautiful Salzburg. Now, many of us, when we think of Salzburg, we think of the Sound of Music, right? And so there are opportunities, yeah, to see where it was filmed, and the Sound of Music, obviously now an iconic movie, part of American culture in terms of the story of that family, the Von Trapp family. But now I would need to ask you, Jacinta, when you came to Linz, did you head to Salzburg or did you go?
I did, absolutely, because I am a big Sound of Music fan. So I wanted to see those sites, and I wanted to hear, information from local guides about the filming, of the actual movie and the locations, and it was quite fascinating. My travel companion actually selected a different excursion. So I went with a group. I was perfectly comfortable by myself with a group going into Salzburg, and yeah, this is a beautiful picture with the abbey up on the top of the hill.
And of course, Salzburg, speaking of music, the wonderful Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart called Salzburg his hometown, right? A musical genius prodigy that was writing his own music at the age of 8. And so his history is quite illustrious here in Salzburg as well. So any of you classical music fans, this certainly would be appealing as well to learn more about Mozart. Now, the other option, again, you can stay in Linz that day. You can head south like Jacinta did to Salzburg, or maybe you've been to Salzburg and you might want to go north in and back to the Czech Republic. I say back because you may have been on the Prague pre-cruise, to this village of Chesky Krumlov, right? And so this is where in river cruising, people sometimes come and repeat an itinerary because they didn't have a chance to do everything that was offered. And quite frankly, in terms of the variety of different excursions that are offered throughout the cruise, you do have to pick and choose. So sometimes you can't do it all, even though you'd like to. So I don't know, is this where your traveling companion may have gone?
Yes, this is actually what she selected, and she thoroughly enjoyed it. I was tempted to do this as well, but because this was my first time in Salzburg, I decided to do the other tour. But your point is well taken. If I were to do this again, and I would be able to do all of the things I missed the first time through.
Right. And so I had the last time I was on the Danube, having been to Salzburg a time or two, I did come north to Chesky Krumlov. And what I brought back to the ship was some Czech wine. I went to a wine store here in Chesky Krumlov, and that's the other nice thing. You're in wine country along this itinerary. Though we serve wonderful wine on board, you can also, in this case, like I did, bring wine back to share with the dinner table that evening. And there's no corkage fee, so that's nice. So this is just an absolutely bucolic, quaint, wonderful village to wander around, do a little shopping, a little noshing on food, quite nice indeed. Now, you come next to the town of Melk, M-E-L-K, Melk, and the allure here, or the key point of interest, is the incredible, and I don't have a ton of pictures, I think this may be the only one, which does not do it justice, but there's a Benedictine abbey that sits up on a hill overlooking the Danube River Valley and the village of Melk. Did you go to the abbey, Jacinta?
Absolutely did, and I actually bought a postcard that had an aerial view of this vast complex. It's quite massive. You can't tell from this front shot here, but if you had a drone or you had an aerial shot, it looks quite different. And we were able to tour part of it. It's quite extensive and also has gardens. Really very interesting information about this particular abbey, historical information.
900 years old. Yeah, this abbey is from, I believe, the 12th or 13th century, so quite old, and it's still, it's not just I mean, it's active to this day in terms of church services, and there's a school, and so it's yes,
Yes.
serving its
Quite,
purpose to
quite
this
an
day.
active center. Yeah, and I have more information about it on my Facebook page posts.
All right, good deal. So one of the places, and we've mentioned this town, Spitz in Austria a few times, because only the Alma Magna will stop here, and it is a tiny little burg. But part of the reason we stop here is to take you into this old building and have a little festival. There's not only wine, but there's beer as well, and there's again the music, and very much getting you into the spirit here of being along the Danube in the Wachau Valley. All right.
So we've already had beer and pretzels in Wilshofen, and now we're having wine tastings in Austria, and this was a very fun evening, I have to say, and exclusive to Magna.
Yes, exclusive to the Magna, which we wanted to do something because the Magna is fairly exclusive just in and of herself due to her design, of course. And so we wanted to augment the itinerary by having some things that were just for her. Now, back to the biking again, what's nice is it's relatively flat, right? Which is kind of nice. Sometimes there's a headwind, sometimes there's a tailwind, depending on which way the wind might be blowing. So you have to potentially deal with that. I like tailwinds, I'll just tell you that. But sometimes you will have the opportunity when you're on your biking trip. Yes, the ship will be passing you by and you know you're going to, knock wood, catch up to the ship at some juncture down the road. But I like that picture. And you can see some of the terraced vineyards here and over here as well. So this is a wine growing area. Now, if you can remember Gruner Veltliner, right? So Gruner Veltliner is an Austrian white wine. Now, at Bevmo the other day, when it was particularly hot here in Petaluma, where I live, a few weeks ago, Gruner Veltliner, and you may not have ever heard of it, this Austrian varietal, but Bevmo carries, at least the one here in Petaluma, had 4 different Gruner Veltliners from 4 different Wachau Valley producers. So I highly recommend it as a nice summer quaff. This Wachau, and that's Wachau. If you speak German, you'd say it even more guttural than I'm saying it. But this is a UNESCO World Heritage Area, right? And it is, again, as Rick Steve said, the quintessential river cruise area in all of Europe, at least according to him. And again, these beautiful little towns and villages we'll talk more about, but quite a nice experience. And if you're there in the spring, apricots, apricot jam, of course, apricot preserves, apricot brandy, anything and all apricot you can take advantage of during the springtime. All right.
It's a beautiful wine country and all kinds of delicious treats.
Yes, no kidding. And of course, the Austrians, the chocolates as well. Switzerland, we think of chocolate, but Austria too. The Linz chocolate company. And this gentleman, I forgot his name, but he often, he's the winery owner. Here he is, he's Austrian, but it looks like a Hawaiian shirt to me. So he's got a little aloha going there. But we do a lot of wonderful wine tastings in the vineyards, these small family-owned vineyards. So that's, again, part and parcel of the experience. As I said earlier, you might think, you know what, I'm going to bring a bottle of that Gruner Veltliner back to the ship, that kind of thing. We have it on board as well, but this kind of experience is, again, something that people typically enjoy doing. Dürnstein, again, one of the smaller villages along with Krem, Melk, etc. This is a castle where Richard the Lionheart was imprisoned. You can hike up there. The view up there is rather magnificent. Again, just walking around the village, beautiful church here as well. So these pictures are evocative indeed. And believe it or not, that's some terraced vineyards again in this vicinity. So those are, only hand-picked as far as that goes.
And you do bring up a good point. There are walking tours in every location, but there are also guided hiking tours. And I know several people that did this hike. It was a little strenuous, but they really enjoyed going up to that castle and kind of poking around, looking around, and then hiking back down.
Correct. And that is certainly part of the reason we have full-time wellness instructors on board that do the variety of classes that Jacinta was mentioning. Such that then we carry that sort of theme off the ship with the biking and hiking. So that is something that people enjoy. Then you come to one of the most beautiful, most livable cities in the world, and that is Vienna, Austria, right? Now, one of our owners, Rudy Schreiner, is from Vienna. So I always think of Rudy in Vienna when I see this particular image. So much to see and do. We have an opportunity to go to a Strauss Mozart concert in the evening, Schönbrunn Palace. You can go to the coffee houses in Vienna. Of course, everyone knows about that. The interesting thing about the pastries, the pastries that are served so nicely in the various coffee houses in Vienna, they have their origins not in Austria, but in all places like coffee, Turkey. The Turkish influence is
That's true.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. So lots to see and do in, again, one of the capital cities here, Vienna, Austria. Another capital city that's sort of under the radar. We don't think of Slovakia all that much. We used to think of it in terms of Czechoslovakia before, of course, the Iron Curtain fell and Slovakia became its own governing country. But Bratislava has many interesting things to see and to do tour-wise, from foodie trips to museums to you name it. So, and Bratislava is quite lovely indeed. You'll spend part of the day here as well. What did you do in Bratislava?
You know, I found it quite surprising. I didn't know very much about it before I went, and did do the walking tour, and then explored a little bit on our own. But really just a lovely surprise. And I don't want to talk about it too much because I want people to have their own sense of discovery.
Yes.
You know, we're doing a preview, but you know, it isn't a substitute for actually experiencing everything yourself. And certainly in each of these locations, there are several options for what to do with your time, and that's a tough choice, you know, on a daily basis, but lots of choices. And again, for anyone that's just joining us, that hasn't heard it, you know, the excursions are included with AMA. All of them are included. So you have a choice every day of what you'd like to do: walking tours, biking, hiking, special interest tours, or if you want to explore on your own, you can certainly do that as well.
Yep. And to that point, what happens then when people are picking and choosing different things to do, it breaks the ship's complement of guests into smaller groups. And in the current environment, smaller groups tends to be, again, something people find attractive, being, again, with a smaller group. So really, there's typically never more than 15 or 20 people doing a particular individual excursion. The other thing I'll mention real quickly, which is very helpful, is the My AMA Cruise app, the app. Because the app, you put on your handheld device, typically your phone. Anyway, it has maps, it has the daily guide on the ship, it has a whole menu of different things. It also has where you can take pictures and it'll actually remember. A lot of times we all take pictures, we come back, we're there when we take the picture and say, oh, I'll remember this. You come home, you have your pictures of where was that? The app does that for you now. It actually
has a GPS tracking.
Yeah.
Yes, GPS tracking for the location. So it'll tag it in case you don't remember exactly where you took that shot.
It's very, very cool indeed. Then, yes, beautiful Budapest in Hungary. Buda on one side of the river and Pest on the other side of the river, right? Yes. And this is the incredibly beautiful Parliament building that also is lit up at night. That is spectacular. It's something, it's a bucket list experience, quite frankly. And so the cruise will end here. You have an overnight here on the vessel, but then many people, just because of the interest in Hungary and in Budapest and Hungarian culture, and this is where you're really starting to transition, you know, from Western Europe into more Central Europe, a kind of Central Eastern European feeling does Budapest have. Really a lovely, lovely city to explore indeed. And we highly recommend that you consider doing that post-cruise in Budapest. Cynthia mentioned the cruise manager will also join you there at the hotel.
And have great recommendations. So tour included, 2 tours, one from the ship and one from the hotel if you are extending. Just a quick comment about the pre and the post, because these are also high quality hotels in a central location, very convenient, and you do have the support of the cruise manager the entire time, plus a tour, choice of tours when you're there. But did want to just recap, again, if anyone is new, AMA is a 5-star premium river cruise line, very high quality and high value. Just a quick comment that they do have a lot of great promotions all of the time, and I have extra bonuses that I can offer you. Oh, there I am in Budapest, and I will say that Parliament building, it has got to be the single most photographed landmark there, daytime, nighttime, all the time. You know, you see it when you're cruising in or out of the city on the river, which is, that's a truly, you know, memorable experience, being on the sun deck or on your balcony and just watching sailing through into the city is wonderful. So this is a recorded webinar, not a live webinar. So there is no Q&A, but I'm very accessible, so you can certainly email me or message me with questions, but I'm happy to do a follow-up conversation with you. I will just make a general comment that I do have dates selected for Magna on the Danube for next year. I can safely say that whatever year it is, but I have dates scoped out, good time of year, good promotions, good bonuses. Not going to get into those details right now, but just to remind you that we have done a whole series of webinars. So there are other itineraries that are also wonderful. They may be a better fit for your interests at this time. But again, please feel free to contact me to discuss all of that. And I will just say, I have been posting my pictures and my videos on the company Facebook page, Facebook. Search Island Getaways if you want to see more information from my personal journey. I think, unless there's other comments, Brian, I don't know if we forgot anything.
No, I think thank you. And actually, to echo Jacinta, I've been looking at her posts, and I have to live vicariously through her because I haven't been in a while for obvious reasons. But again, going forward. So thank you for the opportunity today, and thank you for posting those beautiful pictures. Those are well worth taking a gander at, and you can also, you know, mention to folks who have an interest, friends, colleagues of yours, to come and watch this presentation as well. And so I'm just trying to think. Yeah, you know, certainly there's still availability. We're here now, September 1, so we're kind of approaching, you know, sort of the end of this year. I just will give a quick shout out that Christmas markets this year are doing phenomenally well.
Yes.
And the Magna does a Christmas markets itinerary. Part of the reason is because we couldn't do it in 20, so people moved over. We couldn't do it in 21 for the most part, people moved over, but then we're getting a lot of new bookings. So if you've never thought of sort of a unique get together for maybe a multi-generational family get together, because we do have triples and quads and connecting accommodations, that maybe you think about a Christmas markets, a family generational fun thing to do later this year. And then of course the books are open for 2023, as Jacinta mentioned, and bookings are, we're seeing people jump off the sidelines and certainly make their plans.
Well, now would be a good time to stop dreaming and start planning definitely for next year, because I can tell you from traveling just a couple of weeks ago that international travel is back. Yep. And it will be even bigger next year because, of course, we had that 2-year hiatus. Yep. That's how I refer to that. Enough said there. And while I've always said, we've discussed it before, you know, caters very, very well for active adults, active, fit, healthy adults. That's not to say it isn't a wonderful trip for families. On the sailing that I took, there were actually families with teenagers, and they seem to be well engaged. Maybe not doing 100% of the walking tours with a lot of the, you know, living history kind of information, but certainly biking, hiking, doing things on their own as well with their families. So certainly enjoyable, and you know, be a great way to spend the holidays, Christmas holidays. Because the Christmas markets do all the work, and it's a festive time, very festive and you know, happy time. So all of that's available. Thank you for mentioning that, and I'm going to wrap it up because it's approaching an hour here, but we've had a lovely preview. I hope you've enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm, very accessible, so reach out.
Thank you, Jacinta.
Thank you, Brian. We'll look forward to webinar number 10.
Yes.
We're kind of the Fred and Ginger dance team here, and I'm just going to drop that as a little nugget, because if anyone looks at my Facebook posts or goes on the trip, you'll understand the reference to Fred and Ginger somewhere along the line.
Cool. Good deal. Now you got my curiosity. I'll have to go check now again. All right. Thanks, Jacinta. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Be good. Safe travels. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye for now.